Corporations Are the Problem. September 4, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. I have pointed out before that most people who have incorporated their businesses have no idea what they gave up by doing so. They think they are getting bankruptcy protection, which they are, but in exchange, they are giving up their businesses. They are becoming public entities and are publicly owned and subject to government control, regulation and taxation as a result. The business and the assets they have slaved for and built are no longer theirs, and this is done with the stroke of a pen and their own ignorance. Why? Because they haven't agreed to be accountable for their private business and its operations. The state-of-state organization has stepped into that role, and from now on, will tell them what to do and how to do it. Even worse, the operators and owners of these incorporated entities all become corporate officers, in the same manner and basic meaning of ship's officers. They become personnel of what were once their own businesses, and they, too, are then obligated to do and perform whatever the state legislature demands of them, and whatever the Congress dictates. And this is all because they chose to incorporate their businesses. A slightly different but similar situation results throughout the health industry, via the licensing of health professionals as uniformed officers. This license allows the victims to treat federal citizens and citizens of the United States, who legitimately make up about 20% of the population. In exchange for being able to treat this relatively small percentage of the population, our doctors give up their freedom as private physicians and redefine themselves via the license as medical doctors, thereby becoming liable to obey all codes and regulations, and to pay all taxes and fees imposed. How many medical school graduates would freely and voluntarily agree to becoming licensed personnel, if they really knew what that means? This is all done by corporations to the populace of this country and every other country on Earth. This is how the corporate business managers have contrived to deceive and control millions of people and subject these slaves and indentured servants to foreign international and global legal systems that actually have nothing to do with the victims. They claim that you have done this to yourselves, by volunteering to incorporate your businesses in exchange for bankruptcy protection, by applying for licenses to do things that are occupations of common right in this country. Should you know that the practice of law and medicine are both occupations of common right, and that unless you wish to treat federal patients and work in federal medical facilities or their federal courts, you have no reason to accept a license bar card account? Yes, that should be plainly explained and evident in the paperwork when applying for a medical license or bar accounts, but it's not. Same thing with the driver license. Unless you are using the public roads for private profit, as in a taxi or courier service or trucking company, there is no reason for you to voluntarily license yourself or redefine your private car as a motor vehicle. In these and many other ways, corporations, including the governmental services corporations, have been preying upon Americans and other people around the world for generations. This secretive self-service on their parts, which results from failing to fully disclose the results of their incorporation and licensing activities, has bubbled over into increasing oppression using lawfare to extort money and assets from people and to interfere with trade and economic activity. What do you do once you have fallen into their trap? Licenses and other registrations can be returned or simply allowed to lapse. Federal guild memberships in the bar associations and the American Medical Association can similarly be disposed of. Corporations can be sold to unincorporated businesses, or otherwise dismantled and returned to private trade, unless they are nonprofit corporations, in which case, they can only transfer assets to other nonprofit corporations or suffer liquidation. This foregoing provision makes it particularly difficult for churches and other nonprofits to get out from under the government thrall. What else can we do? The actual government of this country, vested in the United States of America, our Federation of Independent and Sovereign States of the Union, can dissolve corporations for unlawful activity, and so can the individual states dissolve corporations that have been incorporated by the state-of-state organizations. In this way, we hold the ultimate club over corporations that have been incorporated in our names, but we must get organized to use it. This means that many of us must take action to declare our birthright political status as Americans, join our state assemblies, and stand ready to dissolve corporations that have been deliberately operated or misdirected to operate in unlawful ways, which includes failure to fully disclose contractual obligations and results of contract. We can also impose upon the state legislatures to enable incorporated entities to dissolve and restructure without penalty, provided that the officers of the corporation all claim and admit that they did not know and were not told that they were giving up control and ownership of their private businesses when they decided to incorporate. This escape hatch provision should apply to both state and federal corporations, to nonprofits and for-profits alike. If you or someone you love is caught in the trap of incorporation or false licensing, leading to equally false claims that you or they volunteered to subject yourselves to foreign laws, take action now. Go to www.theamericanstatesassembly.net and get started.